Hi everybody, here we are for our review of Black Magic. I'm Waldorf,
And I'm Statler.
and sorry, I said lore, didn't I? This is the path of Black Magic.
No, you said Lord, as
Lord?
in our Lord.
Lord of Black Magic.
Yes.
Oh, there you go. That works. I didn't make a mistake. It's not the second one today. Alright. The lore attribute, Soul Thirst. Speaking of the Lord of Black Magic. Soul Thirst, range of 18, hex, missile damage.
Speaking of thirst, I want some more water.
Yes. Target suffers 1 strength 5 hit. If this results in an unsaved wound, the caster recovers a wound. No single model can recover more than 1 wound per phase from the spell. I like this. Kind of nice. I mean, it's a hex, it's a missile. I mean, it's a missile, so it's your front arc. The secondary attribute's not really going to kick in unless you're wounded. It's okay. Not great. Okay.
I like it. I mean, as far as I know, there's only 2 armies that can use this: the Dark Elves and the Sylvan Elves.
Okay.
I think it synergizes well with those 2 armies. So anytime you can get a high strength hit on somebody, I think is a nice thing.
Yeah.
And it can be anybody. So you can use your magic missile on one guy and you can
Just zap another off.
zap another guy. So
Yeah, put a strength 5 hit on a unit of 4 riders
right,
and kill one and cause
and now
them
they
panic.
take a panic check.
Yeah.
So it's a good thing. The characters tend to be fragile in the case of the elves, and
Right.
in the case of the trees, you're going to be fighting with them, so the ability to get a wound back is
Yeah,
is
but
helpful.
you're not going to be able to use it if you're fighting with them. Because if they're in combat, it's a missile. They can't use it. Right?
The caster recovers 1 wound.
Correct. Well, you can't... Since it's a missile, the attribute is a missile, he's not going to be able to use the attribute.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
You have to cause a wound to recover a wound.
Right, correct.
So he's basically, if you're in combat, that's
Yeah.
a downside to what you're talking about. If you're in
Yeah,
combat,
no, I
this
actually
one goes
interpreted it.
away.
You just didn't get that aspect of it.
Oh.
But
Yeah, that
But yeah,
actually, if it's a combat character, you don't want this.
because it's a hex and it's a missile.
Right. Yeah. Again, if you're a combat character, I don't think you want this. Because it's not helping you.
Unless you're trying
Unless
to
you kill something and get out of
shot by
combat.
cannons or stuff or something like that.
Yeah. Anyway.
Well, that's just an interesting question. I think that's a point of clarification that we could just ask.
What's that?
If one of the attributes doesn't work in the type, does that mean the spell is null and void?
Well, you have to have caused a wound to get the wound back.
That's true. That's true. Yeah.
So I think it's pretty clear that it's just
Yeah.
not going to work.
Yeah.
That's the one problem with this attribute is if you're in combat, you don't have a lore attribute,
Mhm.
basically.
Right.
So as opposed to almost every one of these other attributes we've seen, there's always some benefit to it, right?
Usually, some of them are better than others, but yeah.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Oh, moving on to Morax Fury. That's the way you would say that? Anyway.
Works for me.
I guess we don't know him, so it doesn't matter. Casting is 8 or a 10. Range is 6. Boost to an 18. It's an augment. Lasts 1 turn. Target gains +1 strength. If you boost it to the 10, you get an extra. You boost it to range 18, and also pick up armor piercing 1 out of that. Not +1, armor piercing 1.
Right.
Still nice. 10 to boost to +1 strength. Compared to comparing this to Wild Form, I guess, right?
Correct.
Wild Form casts on a 9 and gives you strength and toughness and has a longer range.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, not sold on this, especially as a base spell. As a default. I mean, yeah. No, not a fan.
I think the casting value may be slightly off, but once again, considering the 2 armies that can use this, I think it's actually very helpful.
Think so?
The armor piercing 1, it's not very helpful for the Sylvan Elves, since most of their stuff already has armor piercing.
Don't the what are they the
And then the
evil
Dread Elves,
the Dread Elves,
have
don't they already
have-
have armor piercing all over already?
They have a good amount also, but not everything. So the armor piercing, I don't know if that will kick in very much. The
But you're going to need to use the boosted version
But
to
the
get a
boosted
decent
version
range out
is
of it.
really is about getting to the 18.
Right.
And I do think,
The 6 is extremely short.
yes, I do think the 18 is is fine for the +1 strength, because that's a pretty big bubble.
Not a bubble range.
Well, I mean, as far as
Okay.
the
Yes.
distance from your
I
mage
got you.
to
Understand.
all the guys that can be in range.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, I think it's the casting compared to the range and the benefit is just not there for me.
Mhm.
Not a fan.
Next thing we have is the first spell, which is the Freezing Gale. Cast on a 4. Boosted version is a 9. Range is 24. 36 for the boosted version. It's a hex. It's direct damage. Instant.
Direct comma damage.
Yes.
Sorry.
Instant. The boosted version lasts 1 turn. Target instantly suffers D6 strength 4 hits. The boosted version, the target also has D3 to its ballistic skill to a minimum of 1. At its base level, it's just a simple, magic missile
Yep.
at a low casting value. So
Yeah.
helpful.
No, if this one was switched with 0, I think it would be fine.
Yeah. And then the boosted version, also includes the ballistic skill reduction. It's a strange combination, which is a couple of these on here are that way. As far as what it does, I mean, it's clear what they're trying to achieve with it based on the name and all of that. But for 2 armies that don't like getting shot at
Yes. Yeah.
with ballistic skill shooting, it's a helpful spell.
I can see that. And the 4 magic missiles, four power die, 4 power. What is it? Sorry. How many times are you going to say this wrong?
Forecasting
value is very good for D6 strength 4 hits,
Right.
range 24.
Right.
In its base version, it's very good. Again, I think this would have been better served to be 0, but it's a decent spell.
Yeah, I think it's a nice little spell.
It's a huge upgrade to go to cast it at the boosted version.
Yes.
4 to a 9, more than double it.
But you're also extending the range.
You're extending the range, and yeah, okay. All right, that brings us to the Blade Storm. Spell 2, which casts at a 7 or a 9. Range is 24. It's a hex, lasts 1 turn. Target has minus D3 to its weapon skill, to a minimum of 1. And if you boost it using the 9, target cannot use its distracting nor use its parry. Ooh, this is a really good spell. I like this a lot. I'm a big fan of this spell. The D3 weapon skill is good. To knock out his parry, you're basically giving yourself +1 to hit
Against certain opponents.
against
yes.
a lot of opponents.
And once again, this is elves primarily. You're often hitting on 2s
Right.
when they don't have when they don't have distracting or parry.
Mm-hmm.
And for those units that do have it, those little cheapy goblins and such, which are
Knocks
annoying,
you back down to a 2.
get you back up to your 2 again. So that can be very helpful, especially when you have a unit that can put out a lot of attacks,
Mm-hmm.
like a wild huntsman or a big block of spearmen or something like that. That can be
Yep.
quite helpful.
No, I think this is a really nice spell.
And it pretty much guarantees, well, I shouldn't say guarantees, but gives you a high probability that you're going to be getting to the hitting on the 3 base anyway.
Correct.
Even against relatively skilled opponents.
Yeah.
That brings us to Grippling Agony. Crippling Agony.
Crippling?
Grippling.
Wasn't sure what that word was, but I was going to let it go.
Is he a writer? Crippling Agony. the casting value is 8. Boosted version is 14. Range is 18. Boosted version is 36. It's a hex. Lasts 1 turn. Target suffers -1 strength, -2 for the boosted version, and initiative to a minimum of 1. The -2 initiative for elves seems like something that's not very helpful because you tend to have high initiative. However,
If you're fighting other
if
elves.
you're fighting other elves or chaos,
Correct.
then it ends up being, or you can knock down somebody's character. That can
Yes.
actually be quite helpful to you.
On an 8 for that. That's not bad.
Well, yes. No, that's a
-1 initiative,
minus
-1
for
strength
the minus
on
one.
an 8.
Yes, And then the strength bonus is a really big deal.
Yes.
There's a
Because you're toughness 3 guys.
Yes, there's a preponderance of strength 4 guys out there. So knocking them down is really reducing the number of hits, and you hit them on 3s, and all of a sudden, you're winning on 5s. It's really nice. The 14 is a really high casting value. I think you're kind of desperate if you're throwing at that.
Yeah.
But
at least the 14 is not a D3, where you can roll the 1.
Correct. That's true. That's true.
Which I don't like on the other spells.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think this is the base version of casting at 8, -1 strength, -1 toughness. I mean, -1 strength, -1 initiative at range 18 is very nice.
It's very helpful in combat for a lot of guys.
Yep, especially the squishy elves. Mark of Fear, spell 4. Range Fear. Casting of 8, boost to a 13. Range of 18, boost to a 36. It's a hex. Remains in play. Another remains in play spell. I like these. Target cannot benefit from neither Inspiring Presence nor Hold Your Ground. It's a neither nor statement. Okay, so we could switch that to either or, and it would be the same statement, right? And read better to me. Anyway, so basically, what? But I am English.
You're letting your American get out, get to you.
I'm the ugly American. Fine. So Mark of Fear. So basically, casting on an 8, range of 18. This unit can't use Inspiring Presence or Hold Your Ground. That's all you have to say. This is a fantastic spell.
Yes.
And it's a remains in play.
Yes.
If I get desperate, I can cast it at 13 and boost the range to 36, but I'm probably not going to need to do that. 8 for this is a great spell.
No, this is fantastic. Once again, considering the armies, which the troops tend to be a little fragile, you can usually win that first round, take some hits, and then, particularly if you have something like a light lance or a lance, and you're not going to be so strong in the next round, you want to make sure you win in that first round. But anytime you can have a good probability of chasing away your opponent, it's a wonderful thing.
Yeah, I mean, even if they're going to be steadfast, they're not going to be steadfast with a Hold Your Ground, so they're not going to get a reroll. They're going to be steadfast on their own leadership.
And it's going to be their leadership.
This is a really good spell.
And then you add a little fear into the mix, and things are good.
Yeah, and this is a dark spell, so yeah, fear's all over the place. Very nice. I like this a lot.
Next one is number 5, Bolt of Darkness. So how does that work? You have a bolt and it's in the dark. Cast on 11, range is 18. It's a hex. It's a missile. It's damage. Instant. Target suffers 2d6 strength 5 hits. So just a standard strong magic missile.
Yeah, I like this.
Doesn't shoot too far, but it's nice damage. Strength 5, a magic missile is 2d6.
Really good. 2d6 strength 5.
Nothing wants to really get hit by that.
No.
So
even your character riding along on his whatever with his 2-up armor save's not going to be happy about
no,
this.
you don't want to get hit by that. I mean, maybe big blocks of high toughness guys are the only thing that will risk it.
High toughness, high armored.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, this is a nice spell. Another nice spell. And that brings us to the
elves have bling. Everybody knows that.
the number 6, the Black Terror. Casting on a 12.
Not to be confused with the Black Terrier.
Terrier, yes. That's even more dangerous. It's a vortex with a range of 6. So what's that? 6 to 30 inches. It's a 1-inch template, and it's a ground. It's instant. Models touched by the template must pass a strength test or suffer 1 wounds with multiple wounds ordnance, armor piercing 6, and no region saves allowed. This is a really good spell. Really good spell. Send this down through between 2 ranks of ogres. You're going to hit, 6 guys if they're 3 deep.
Yep.
Strength test. It's a strength test, so, strength test is only going to hit a third of them, though, right? Anyway, one way or another, it's a good vortex. The inch template is a little small, but still really nice.
Well, a number of the vortexes have that, so
What, the little small?
make sure that you don't just wipe out an entire unit by
Right.
one vortex going through
Correct.
them. Some bad dice.
Yeah, if they're if they're 20 millimeter guys, though, I mean, you're going to hit 3 per rank.
hit
If
3
you go
per rank.
straight through, and you can go at an angle and
Right.
hit
So-
even more.
So you can clip some guys.
Right.
And it does multiple wounds, that's the thing.
Yes. Yeah, nice spell.
So, and then I think one of the key things is for an Uber spell, it only has a casting value of 12. I mean,
It's a
some of
fairly
the other
low
ones you
for their
see,
big
you'll
spell.
see 14. So you're saving a dice. So it does a decent job. No regen, you still get your ward save.
Right.
So adding some flavor for the different spells. I think this is a nice Uber spell because you don't have to put all your dice into it to get it off.
Right.
You know, for those people that want the Uber spell.
Yeah, I agree. This is a nice spell. So looking back at the lore overall, path overall, my biggest problem with this one is the 0 spell, which I think is okay, but is limited. Other than that, I think this is a very good lore. Path. Stop it.
Lord, hallowed be thy name.
Yes.
I really like the Path of Black Magic a lot. It's actually for my Sylvan Elves. I think usually if I take 2 mages, one of them's going to have the Path of Black Magic.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, unless I'm going monster heavy.
Well, this Mark of Fear is a fantastic spell.
It is, and it's very important for an army that needs to strike and win.
And win.
And while the casting value is slightly high, as I say, on the Morix Fury, I'm a big fan of having base spells that help you.
Right.
Help you win fights.
Casting value a little high and the range a little short.
Yeah.
But still a nice one.
So
And the lore attribute I'm not thrilled with. But anyway, overall I think this is a thumbs up from Waldorf.
well, even there, even generally speaking, your mages aren't fighting in your elven
Right.
armies. The only mage you're probably going to be fighting with are wood mages. So
Right.
it's
That's a good
not
point.
it's not such a big deal. And you're often you're not going to be fighting every round either. So
That's true. Yeah. You kill something, move on to the next, and between
Yeah,
that,
right.
zap something and get
just,
your wound back.
if you're by yourself and as you're moving up, just try and help yourself out. So, and then the other thing about this lore is you notice that, all of the, most of the spells have a medium to low casting value.
They do.
So you don't have
In the unboosted version, look at that.
right unless you go
84.
boosting, you can, and depending of course how you roll, you can actually get a few spells off.
That's a good point.
So I like this lore a lot. So this is
Yeah.
definitely Statler gives it a thumbs up.
Like I said, as do I. I'm not that sold on a lot of it as you are, but I still think it's a very good lore overall.
Yeah. But back to the army that's supporting. So
Correct.
yeah.
All right. That's going to do it for the Path of Dark.